February 19th, 2012, Greenville, North Carolina. A 13-year-old boy sits alone in his bedroom with a second-hand laptop. He uploads his first video. He calls himself MrBeast 6000, a name his Xbox generated for him at random. Almost nobody watches. For 5 years, almost nobody watches. He posts Minecraft gameplay, then Call of Duty commentary, then videos guessing how much money other YouTubers earn. He studies the platform the way other kids study for exams. He reads every comment. He tracks every drop in retention, frame by frame, looking for the exact second viewers click away. His mother works long hours. His father is often away, and Jimmy is the middle child of 2 military veterans who moved often when he was young. He is left with time, and he spends nearly all of it on one question. Why do some videos spread, and why do most simply die? By 2015, he has built a small following with a series called Worst Intros, mocking the clumsy openings of other small creators. It gets him noticed inside YouTube's inner circles, but it does not pay rent. He enrolls at East Carolina University. Within months, he drops out to work on the channel full-time. His mother is furious. She tells him to leave the house until he takes something seriously. He leaves and keeps uploading anyway, sleeping wherever he can, treating every failed video as data rather than defeat. Some uploads earn him only a few hundred views. He posts anyway, on a near-daily schedule, because he has decided that consistency matters more than any single result. Around this same period, he launches a second channel to test formats without risking the main one, then a third for shorter clips, then a fourth for gaming highlights, each one a controlled experiment running alongside the main feed. Where most creators guess at what an audience wants, Jimmy builds spreadsheets. He tracks how many seconds into a video the drop-off happens, then reshoots the same idea with a different opening, over and over, until the number improves. For years, the channel grows by inches. Then, in January 2017, he posts a video of himself counting out loud to 100,000. It takes more than 40 hours of footage, cut down into one sitting. By any normal logic, it should not work. It works. The video goes viral, and for the first time, strangers start asking who this kid actually is. Subscribers that had trickled in 1 or 2 at a time for 5 straight years suddenly arrive by the thousands within a single afternoon. What nobody expected was that counting numbers out loud would become the blueprint for something far bigger. Jimmy notices that audiences respond less to jokes and more to raw, sustained commitment. Someone doing something extreme on camera without cutting away. He starts scaling the idea up. He buys a lottery ticket on camera. He watches paint dry for 10 hours straight. He orders the most expensive item on a McDonald's menu, then the cheapest, and times which one arrives faster. Each stunt outperforms the last, and the sponsorship offers start arriving faster than he can answer them. Then he makes a decision that will define the rest of his career. Instead of keeping his first major sponsorship check, he finds a homeless man on the street and hands him $10,000, unscripted, on camera. The video does something none of his earlier stunts had done. It makes people cry. Watching the numbers climb, Jimmy realizes that generosity outperforms comedy every single time. From that point on, nearly every dollar that comes in gets filmed going back out. He tips pizza delivery drivers thousands of dollars each. He gives a stranger a house. He buys out an entire store and lets one customer walk away with everything inside it free. He gives away a private island. He pays off a stranger's college tuition on the spot. He plants a flag on the idea that no gesture is too large to film and no video budget is final until the algorithm proves it wrong. Each video now costs more to make than the last, and each one earns enough in sponsorships and ad revenue to fund something bigger still. By 2018, Jimmy has assembled a small team of friends working out of a rented house in Greenville, treating the channel less like a hobby and more like a startup. Chandler, Chris, Carl, and others move in to work alongside him full-time. They eat, sleep, and edit in the same rooms. Investors quietly start paying attention to the pattern. A 20-year-old who keeps turning marketing budgets into emotional television faster and cheaper than any studio could manage. The friends who move into that rented house become fixtures of the videos themselves. Chandler plays the reluctant sidekick who loses nearly every challenge on camera. Carl becomes the group's chaos agent, willing to do do almost anything for a bit. Chris keeps the operations, finances, and logistics running behind the scenes. Together they turn a solo YouTube channel into something closer to an ensemble cast, recognizable enough that fans start showing up outside the house uninvited, forcing the group to eventually move production to a secure warehouse. Behind the camera, the method hardens into something closer to a science than a hobby. Jimmy tests dozens of thumbnails against each other before a video ever goes live. He tracks click-through rate and average view duration, the way a hedge fund tracks a stock chart. He shoots far more footage than he ever airs, and quietly deletes projects that do not meet his own bar, no matter how much they cost. Competitors and copycat channels begin appearing around the world, in dozens of languages, reproducing his formula of giant numbers, giant stakes, and giant giveaways, almost frame for frame. By 2019, the ambition jumps again. He plants 20 million trees through Team Trees, a campaign that pulls in more than $20 million from creators and fans, working together toward one public counter. 2 years later, Team Seas follows, pulling millions of pounds of plastic out of the ocean, with major tech and media companies matching donations dollar for dollar as the public counter climbs in real time. He also launches a separate non-profit channel called Beast Philanthropy, built to funnel merchandise revenue directly into food banks and community aid, run apart from the main channel's commercial machine. The giving is real. It is also, unmistakably, content. Every dollar donated is a dollar spent building an audience that keeps compounding. By April 2021, the main channel crosses 60 million subscribers. 16 months later, it passes 100 million. The growth stops looking gradual and starts looking exponential. Behind the videos, a company is quietly forming. In 2020, Jimmy launches MrBeast Burger, a delivery-only restaurant brand cooked inside existing kitchens under his name, expanding to hundreds of locations across the United States and later internationally almost overnight on the strength of his audience alone, without a single traditional ad. In 2021, he formally incorporates Beast Industries, headquartered not in Los Angeles or New York, but in North Carolina, close to where he started. A year later, Feastables launches, a chocolate and snack brand positioned as a cleaner alternative to the candy aisle, backed by nothing but his subscriber base and his own face on the wrapper. Within 2 years, it is sitting on shelves in thousands of retail stores nationwide, next to brands with decades of history behind them, its packaging carrying the same red and black branding as the videos that built it, so a shopper recognizes it before reading a single word. By May 2023, the main channel passes 150 million subscribers. 5 months later, it crosses 200 million. Every video now costs hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars. Real prize money, real set, real production crews flown around the world. He recreates the entire show Squid Game in real life, on a budget running into the millions, offering a top prize of $456,000. The video is watched by hundreds of millions of people within its first year alone, becoming one of the most viewed pieces of content ever uploaded to the platform. But the machine has a cost that never shows up on screen. In 2022, a Business Insider investigation interviews former contestants and crew members who describe grueling, sometimes unsafe conditions on set, long hours in extreme cold, inadequate medical support, and non-disclosure agreements that keep people from speaking publicly. Jimmy responds directly, admitting the show had growing pains and promising changes going forward, though he stops short of naming which specific practices will change or when. The following year, MrBeast Burger becomes the subject of lawsuits and public complaints, as customers post photos of meals that look nothing like what was advertised online. Virtual Dining Concept, the company operating the kitchens, sues Jimmy directly, alleging he tried to walk away from the brand to protect his own name. He countersues, accusing them of selling food so far below standard that it put his reputation at risk. The partnership collapses in public, in real time, in front of an audience of hundreds of millions. On June 1st, 2024, MrBeast's main channel overtakes T-Series, the Indian music label that had held the #1 spot on YouTube for years. For the first time in the platform's history, the most subscribed channel on Earth belongs to a single individual creator, not a corporation. By July 2024, the channel crosses 300 million subscribers, a figure no other individual creator has ever approached. Reporters scramble to explain how one teenager's bedroom hobby has quietly outgrown entire national media industries. In December 2024, Amazon premieres Beast Games, a competition series built around the same formula that made his videos work: enormous stake, hundreds of contestants, and a $5 million prize, the largest cash prize in television history at that point. Amazon commits $100 million to the first season alone. It becomes one of Prime Video's most watched original series within weeks of release. Jimmy later admits on a podcast that he personally lost tens of millions of dollars on the production by exceeding the budget just to make it good enough. Before the first season even finishes airing, lawsuits surface from contestants alleging unsafe working conditions, harassment, and withheld prize money during filming. Jimmy publicly dismisses the claims as blown out of proportion. Amazon and his production company deny the most serious allegations. The investigations continue. The show is renewed anyway, with Amazon committing more than $250 million for 2 additional seasons, a bet that the controversy will not slow the audience down. In January 2025, Jimmy states publicly that he and his lawyers have prepared a bid to buy TikTok outright to keep the app from being banned in the United States. The offer goes nowhere in the end, but it makes headlines worldwide because a company built entirely on video content is now positioned as a buyer of one of its biggest rival platforms. Meanwhile, the philanthropy that built his audience keeps drawing its own scrutiny. Videos funding cataract surgeries, hearing implants, and water wells across parts of Africa rack up hundreds of millions of views, and journalists start asking a harder question: whether real charity and branded spectacle can actually be separated once a camera is always rolling. Jimmy's answer stays consistent. He argues that the views are what pay for the wells in the first place, and that a surgery paid for by a viral video is still a surgery. By early 2025, Beast Industries, now encompassing Feastables, the snack brand Lunchly, and his video production operations, has grown to roughly 450 employees, more than 300 of them working full-time on videos alone. The average main channel video now costs between $3 and $4 million to produce. In 2023 alone, the company shoots between $10 and $15 million worth of footage that Jimmy simply refuses to release because he does not think it is good enough. The company reports over $400 million in sales and yet posts losses for 3 straight years running, including more than $110 million in 2024, as video production costs consistently outpace revenue from the food and beverage side. Investors keep writing checks anyway. AlphaWave Global leads a $300 million funding round in 2024. By early 2025, Beast Industries is reportedly raising $200 million more, at a valuation near $5 billion, with executives publicly discussing a possible public offering 2 or 3 years out. In January 2026, Tom Lee's Bitmine Immersion Technologies agrees to take a $200 million equity stake in the company. Somewhere along the way, still in his mid-20s, Jimmy becomes one of the youngest self-made billionaires in modern history, a milestone he reaches not through a single sale or a single product, but through a decade of compounding video after video after video. By 2026, one Bloomberg profile pegs his personal net worth at more than $2.6 billion, built almost entirely on paper, tied up in a private company that has never turned a full year of profit on its content business alone. Analysts increasingly describe Beast Industries not as a YouTube channel with side businesses, but as a media conglomerate built almost entirely around one person's face, one person's voice, and one person's relentless work ethic. A structure some investors quietly call the single biggest risk on the balance sheet. Reporters covering the company keep asking the same question in different words. What happens to a $5 billion valuation if the one man behind it burns out, steps back, or simply gets hit by a bus? So far, nobody inside the company has produced a satisfying answer, and no succession plan has ever been made public. In late 2025, the scrutiny takes a new shape. Jimmy films his first video inside Saudi Arabia, part of a state-backed entertainment festival called Riyadh Season, featuring 100 pilots competing for a private jet worth roughly $2.4 million. Weeks later, he opens an indoor theme park in Riyadh built around his own stunts, funded as part of the same government initiative. Commentators note the parallel to sports washing campaigns already running through golf, boxing, and English football, where a state with a documented human rights record buys credibility through Western entertainment. Jimmy does not address the criticism directly. The video racks up tens of millions of views within days, and the theme park opens on schedule anyway. Its rides and challenge stations built to look exactly like the sets from his own YouTube videos, transplanted from a screen into a physical building building in the desert. In interviews, Jimmy himself admits the pace has cost him, cancelled vacations, strained friendships, and a schedule that leaves almost no room for anything outside the work. He says publicly that the money changed very little about how he actually feels day to day, and that the only thing that has ever consistently made him feel better is shipping the next video. Former employees describe a culture that mirrors its founder, relentless, high stakes, and unwilling to settle for anything that tests average. Some call it the most demanding job they have ever had. Others call it the only place they have ever seen an idea move from pitch to a released video watched by tens of millions of people within a matter of weeks. The turnover is high. The waitlist of people wanting in is longer still, filled with young editors and producers who grew up watching the channel and now want a seat inside the machine that made it. Feastables, the one part of the business built to outlast any single video, keeps expanding regardless. It moves from a handful of online orders into major retailers across the United States and Canada, then onto shelves in the United Kingdom, competing directly against chocolate brands that have existed for a century or more. Executives describe it as the eventual anchor of the whole company, a product line that does not depend on a new stunt going viral every single week to keep the lights on, even as the video division that made it famous keeps losing money by design. In July 2026, Jimmy marries fellow creator Thea Boysen on Richard Branson's private island in front of 70 guests, calling it the best day of his life. The wedding photos circulate the same week his subscriber count edges past 400 million, a number that would have sounded like science fiction back in that quiet bedroom in Greenville. What started as a bored teenager counting numbers alone on camera has become one of the largest media operations ever built by a single individual, still chasing the next video, still fighting the next lawsuit, still hunting the next number to beat. The bedroom hobby is now worth $5 billion.